So back in November of last year, my grandma got sick, and she ended up passing away. And my grandma's had 8 kids. 6 of them were still living, and out of those 6 kids, there was a couple who were kind of more involved in the day-to-day stuff and more involved in making the decisions on everything. And especially as she was coming to the end of her life, because she did ultimately pass away, she had decisions that needed to be made, and people were starting to have some really big feelings about that. And I had to remind one of her children that, hey, you got to remember, she's got a lot of kids, and it's their mom too. You know, they're gonna have opinions. They're gonna have thoughts about how things ought to go, even if you've been more involved. And so I think that's something important that people need to remember when those times of crisis are happening, is that this person might be your sibling, it might be your parent, your loved one in some way, but it's other people's loved one too, maybe even the same direct relationship that you have with them. So I think that's important for us all to keep in mind. The other thing, a few years ago I read an article about how when these times of crisis happen, that you kind of have different layers or circles of where people fall. In the center of the circle, you have the person who is in the crisis, the person who's sick, the person who has cancer, the person who's in the car wreck. They're at the center, and they are to be the most protected and the one that people are willing to put up with the most from, because they're doing everything they can to handle whatever crisis is going on. And then, so they're at the top of this mound, and then the next layer down would be their spouse, or the people who are in their household. A few years ago when I had thyroid cancer, so that my wife put up with everything from me and my kids, and she helped buffer all that. And but there was me at the center, and then my wife and kids, and then there was my mom and my brother in the next ring, and then aunts and uncles and grandmas and grandpas and stuff like that. And they just kind of kept moving out. And the idea is that when you get stressed and when you're having a hard time, when you need to unload something, you unload it downhill. Crap rolls downhill. You can't crap uphill. That's not allowed in this situation. You can only roll downhill. The person at the center can't take the other people's stress. They've got enough on their own. And the people in the next group, if it was somebody in your household, you wouldn't be able to take it from the people outside your household. So you don't know what I'm going through. This is my spouse. This is the person that I see and live with every day. And so the relationships change. When I moved out of my house, when I was getting married, then my mom became a different relationship than me. My brother became a different relationship with me. They were no longer in a closer circle. They moved out one level. And the best way to think of it too is if the situations are different, because life is in such a way that these things come around all the time, and at some point you'll be the center of the circle, or some point your spouse will be the center of the circle, or your child, and then you think about what would I be able to take from everybody else? How would I be able to handle things from them or from the situation, and what would I be able to take from everybody else? And it's probably not a lot when the closer to the center of that circle you are. And so this is just something that I've been thinking about and been trying to figure out how to share, and I just trying to go ahead and get it out. And I hope it's helpful for a lot of people in life. I have no idea where I read that article. If somebody can find it, that would be great, but I can't find it anymore on the internet. I read it years ago. Okay. Love everybody. Hope this helps.